Hello guys and welcome to my channel. As you know guys, this is one of the video of the series of video that I'm doing here on my channel to create a drone right from the scratch for the aerial photography. In this video guys, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough on how to use your RadioMaster TX16S. Please note that guys, this is not a walkthrough video on how to bind and go in through technical stuff around the menus guys. This is a simple video guys which will walk you through some of the basic functions and get to know your radio control guys. If you have purchased this RadioMaster radio control newly and you do not know what those functions are, what those buttons means and how they operate, where to find what, this is a video for you guys. So ensure that guys you watch this video till the end so that you do not miss out on any important information or instructions that I have to share. Before we move further guys, if you are new to my channel and not yet subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and click that bell notification icon so that you get the notifications for all my new videos. Let's get started. So whenever you purchase this RadioMaster TX16S radio control guys, you need to understand the basic functions. What is where and what means what and where are the things located guys. So first thing first, let's understand what are the controls, what are the buttons and what are they used for. So here you can see on the top, first of all, the big ones are the main control guys. As you can see, one is spring loaded for the left and right, another one has a spring loaded left and right, and the another direction is very smooth to operate like this guys. So here guys, depending upon the mode of operation guys, what you do with these sticks are programmable in this radio control guys, but by default here is for the speed. When you move front and back, it is a smooth travel guys, so it is used for increasing the speed of the motor or speed of the fan so as to make your drone move faster. Left and right is for drifting guys, so your drone stays facing in the same direction. So your drone stays facing in the same direction guys, but you can drift it left and right like this. So it's not gonna turn, it's just gonna drift from left to right depending upon the direction of this joystick. So this one guys is for your elevation. So when you move front, the height of the drone increases. So that is what it is used for. And then it comes to center, so that whenever you want to stop increasing the height, it stays at the position wherever you leave the control. So this is front and back is not normally for height, and left and right is for turning. So in this time guys, whenever you move left and right, it's actually gonna turn. So these are the basic control guys that comes along with any radio control. Then guys, you have some of the buttons or switches that it came along with. So here you can see some are two-way switches, some are three-way switches. So here you can see when you have three dots or three marks on the side, you have three-way switches. Whenever you have two marks like this here on the top, here on the back side guys, you only have two marks. This means this is a two-way switch. So there are several two-way switches guys, as you can see, 4 on this side, 4 on this side. So in total there are 8 switches which is present on this control, 4 like this. So here you have three-way switch here, three-way switch here, two-way switch here, three-way switch here, three-way switch here, three-way switch here, and a two-way switch here. So this one is a toggle guys. This does not stay on its own position. Whenever you toggle, it goes back to its default position. So that's the difference between this switch. This toggles but it stays at its place, but this one just goes up and goes down onto its back position whenever it is toggled. This is the difference between the switches. Onto the top guys, here you have two variable potentiometer guys. Here there is a smaller dot. So whenever you move these control guys, you know where the center is. So it will have a little friction on a place where it is centered. So that is how you know it is centered. And then you can scroll in both directions these knobs so as to control functions which you have assigned to this control guys. On to the side guys, on this side and this side, you have a slider guys, and here also whenever you move there is a center and then there is a travel on both sides. So whenever you move you will feel a little friction in the center and then it will move on to the back. So this is the slider on this side, and you have a similar slider on the other side as well. So these are the basic switches and controls which are available on this radio control, guys. In addition to that, guys, here you have 6 buttons on through the top, which is also clickable, and you can assign a function to each position depending upon what you want to control. Just to tell you guys, all these switches on to its back position, which is away from you, is the default position of these switches, which can be programmed definitely inside this radio control, guys. But then just to let you know, guys, the default position expected right out of the box is away from you. So whenever you boot up, if your switches are not in the default position, your radio control will give you a warning that you have turned it on, but your switches are in wrong direction. This is for your own safety, guys. So if you have configured these switches for some functions and the default position is the off position of that function, guys, so it ensures that whenever you boot this radio control, it does not automatically turns on any function which is not desirable at the time of starting of your drone. So this is a nice check, which you can also change here in the programming, which is the default position. Also, guys, since this is the speed, guys, so it also expect to keep your speed at the lowest position at the time of boot of this radio control. Otherwise it will also give you the warning. So that is what you have on the switches, guys. On the top, guys, here you see there is a button on the top with a light indicator on the top. This is your power button, guys. So this is how you turn on and turn off your radio control. Apart from that, guys, here you have the navigation buttons, and then you have a system menu and the mode menu or the model menu, whichever way you want to say. So system menu is for the configuration of this radio control. What are the system, operating system, firmware, if you want to update, what are the scripts, see the contents of the memory card, Lua scripts and things like that, which is there inside the system. Mode or model function is to configure the model. So depending upon the radio receiver that you have, you can configure the sensors, you can configure the mixes, you can configure the switches, what they do exactly for that drone. So model is exactly the configuration for your drone, and you can have more than one model configured in this radio control, guys. So depending upon the model selected, you can have a different functions assigned to these controls which you have on the radio. So in this menu, guys, you will be able to customize each model and then define each pin functions and operate and put some automations and things like that, and get the sensor values, sensor information, binding the receiver with this radio controls and things like that, guys. That is available here. This is the scroll function, guys, so as to navigate across the functions, and then when you click here, it's going to select or deselect the option which you have selected, or it can change the values using the scroll. So this is also something really nice. So here on the top, guys, there are 4 menu buttons. So top menu is for return or back. The second one is page forward. Third one is page back, and the last one is the telemetry, directly take you to the telemetry, or it can also take you to the on-screen display layout change menu as well. So this has a multifunction, guys. So depending upon the screen on which you are, this will function differently. So these are the buttons which are there on the top, guys. Now let us see on the back side, what do you have? So on the back side, guys, so here on the back side, guys, you have a smaller box on the top which says RadioMaster. This is the place, guys, where you can put in the external RF module. It has a connector pin here, as you can see, which will be connected to your external RF module like TBS Crossfire, ELRS, R9M. Any external module that you want to use with this radio control will be fixed here, guys. In my future videos, guys, I am going to show you all FR Sky, TBS Crossfire, ELRS, all those external modules, how to connect them and configure this radio control to use them. And so ensure that, guys, you stay tuned to my channel so that you do not miss out on those videos. In my previous videos, guys, I have already gone through how to install the battery and everything, guys. So guys, I will not go through on how to install the battery and everything, guys. So I will put the link of my previous video above or in the description below for you guys to check it out. Other than that, guys, at the bottom here you have a rubberized pad. So here you have an option to open the rubberized pad. Inside the rubberized pad you can see there are few ports. First one to notice is your SD card. This is where your all the models and your settings are being saved. So this comes with pre-installed SD card, guys, for 16 GB. You can extend this slot to have more models and more space for different scripts to save by extending the storage up to 32 GB. Here onto the back side, guys, here you can see you have a USB type C charging port. There is a balanced charging port for lipo batteries, guys, which is already inbuilt. So you can put a lipo battery here or 16850 batteries here inside this battery compartment, and you can charge it using the charging port. On the bottom side here you can see there is two port, guys, which are external port for the mods that you want to connect here. So here on the screen you can see there are two different types of ports here. One is 4-pin port which has 5V ground TX and RX. Another one is 5-pin port, so it has 5V ground TX, RX and CTR. CTR is what is connected to your microcontroller of this radio control to control external modules that you want to connect it using these UARTs. So there are two 5V UARTs which are available at the bottom of this radio control, and there is one more UART present here inside this radio control which you can use to connect other modules like Wi-Fi module or Bluetooth module internally inside this radio, guys. So this is what you have on the bottom side, guys. Let's close this up, and then on to the top side, guys. Here you can see here you have a 2.4 GHz antenna which is used for communicating with the 2.4 GHz receiver modules. So as you know, guys, this is a multi-protocol receiver module except for Futaba and FrSky XS receiver modules. I think you will be able to control most of the radio receiver modules which are manufactured by different manufacturer, as it has an inbuilt support for multi-protocol. So this is why, guys, this RadioMaster TX16S is called multi-protocol radio control module, as it supports different types of protocol. Other than that, guys, here on to the top, here you have an audio jack which you can use to listen to the announcements or warnings which is thrown by this radio control whenever you operate using the headphones. By default it has an inbuilt speaker, so you can hear the sounds right away, but if you want to keep it quieter and only restrict the warnings to you, so you can use this audio jack to use the headphones of your liking for 3.5mm jack and hear the warnings or the sounds coming out of this radio control. Other than that, guys, you have another USB type C port. This USB type C port is used for updating the firmware, changing the operating system, accessing the SD card data right here on this radio control. In addition to that, guys, it can also be used to connect it to your PC using the wire and use this radio control as a simulator to play. You can have a simulator software for drones which you can practice. So this radio control, guys, has 16 channel of communication. So guys, on this radio, as you know, there are 8 switches and then 2 sliders onto the sides, 2 potentiometer onto the top, and then there are 4 functions from the gimbal: front, back, left, right on this. So this is 2, front, back, left, right on this, which is 2 more. So here you can see there are almost 16 controls available right here on this radio control, so as to be able to control several functions which you can assign to each one of these pins and control those functions remotely using this remote control. So guys, before you can start using this radio control, let's power this up and see what are the menu functions which you need to know and set this up or calibrate before you can start using this radio control. So let's power this up. To power this up, as you know, you have a button here onto the top for the power. Hold this for 1 or 2 seconds till your screen.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Till your screen pops up.
Throttle warning.
As you can see, guys, your throttle is there onto the center, guys. So it says that you need to pull this down.
Switch warning.
And then it gives the switch warning, guys, because my switches are not there in the default position. So let's pull them back all to the way back. Now you can see your radio control do not give you any warning. So that is what I was talking before. Now let us go through some of the menu functions. So guys, first thing first, as you boot this radio control, guys, you will see the default menu here onto the top. Here you can see you have a timer onto the top, you have a drone photo, whichever is the default photo that came along with your radio control, guys, and then you have the slider values which flows here onto the back and to the sides. So these scroll bars here onto the sides are for the values of the sliders which you have at the bottom left and right corner, guys. So that is what it moves. So whenever you move this across, you can see the slider moving, because I am moving the bottom right side slider which I showed you, guys. And then to the left side as well, guys, you can see it is moving. And to the bottom, guys, here you can see the two knobs that you have onto the top. Whenever you move them, the slider moves, and then when you place it at center, guys, so that is what the bottom slider means, the two knobs onto the top, which I have shown you before, guys. So that is what it is. Whenever you move them, the bottom slider moves, and whenever you move the side bottom sliders, the side slider moves. So this gives you the value. And then in the center, guys, you have the gimbal's value. So whenever you move the gimbal for the throttle, front and then slider, when you slide left and back, and then when you have the increased in elevation or height, and then when you want to turn. So these are the values, guys, that is there available right here on the screen to see if your radio control is functioning properly. And then you see there is an additional slider, guys, here onto the top. So this is because, guys, you have few more buttons right here onto the screen which will possibly change the value or the limit of this slider. So every slider has a digital value, let's say -100 to +100, but whenever you use these sliders, which are called trims, these will possibly reduce the length of the value which you want to go. So trims are basically used in RC plane, guys. You might not have a need for the trim onto the quadcopter, guys, but this basically limits the value of your sliders. So trims are the small button, guys, that you have here onto the screen, guys. Here you can see these are the trims which I was talking about, so as to limit the value of the knobs that you have here onto the top, and then the value of the slider that you have onto the side, which will limit the value of the slider depending upon on which side you want to trim the value. So which is why, guys, it's called trim. It has around 6 of them, guys. So depending upon the functions or values, these potentiometer values you can change for variable function, which is available here because of this trim function. So here you can see if I move this trim, it will move the trim value to the right, and then whenever you slide it back, it will give you a confirmation that, you know, your trims are back to the center and you have full range available. So that is how those trims are used, guys. For now, guys, this is just the high level overview. There are more complicated ways in which you can use the trims, but I'm not going to go through those things here in this video. This is just to let you know, guys, what those buttons are used for. So now let's get back to the menu. So in the menu, guys, you can see few of the functions. Here you have the battery voltage. This battery voltage is the battery indicator of your radio control. It is not of your drone, it is of your radio control, the battery you have put in. And the value that you see here, guys, is also the voltage value of the battery which is installed in your radio control. And then you have the volume of the radio control, guys, and then you have the date and the time. And that is it, guys. That is what you have on this menu. Using the page forward and page back button, which is there onto the top, you can change the layout which you would have already set up. So I have, as of now, 2 layouts, guys. So depending upon the usage or what information that you want here onto the top, you can set different screen layout, and which can be configured here in this drone. So using the page forward and page back, you can change the layout as per the convenience or the layout that you want to use for that radio control or for that drone. So here the last button or the telemetry button, as I told you guys, is a multifunction button. So here on the telemetry button, if you hold it, you will go on to the screen layout, guys. I will not go here in detail, but then you can see there are screen layouts, number of squares, and then you can select in each square what do you want to put at the time of configuration. Here onto the top you can see you have screen 1, screen 2, and so on and so forth. You can keep adding the layouts depending upon the need or the information that you want to display onto your home screen. And then we can hit return to go back to the home screen. So that is what return is used for, to go back. So guys, these are the menu options that you have here onto the top. And then you have a sys button which is there onto your left side. Sys button is basically for your system configuration, as I told you guys before. So let's press and hold the sys key for a few seconds so that it goes inside the system menu. So let's hold this. So here you can see there are various menu options here onto the top. So first one is tools. Tools is the place, guys, where you have all your scripts for different types of radio receivers that it can bind. As of now, you can see I am scrolling on to the right using the scroll bar that you have. So you can scroll across which type of receiver that you have, and you can configure that receiver. Let's say I want to go here and go to TBS Agent Light. So here I can scroll using this scroll button and then click this scroll button to select the option. So let's do that. So here you can see it launched the TBS Agent Light. This is how you navigate through the menu. So let's go back. So one important thing, guys, here in this tool menu that I want you to know to get started is to know the noise level in your area at this radio frequency or the radio frequency at which you're going to operate your radio control. As of now, my radio control by default is in 2.4 gigahertz radio frequency. So if I want to see what kind of noise that I have here in my area where I'm going to fly the drone, so that you can do it by using this last option you have in this tool menu is called Spectrum INT or initializer or something like that, whatever you want to call it. It is basically a spectrum analyzer which analyzes the frequencies or the noise level as of now in your area at that band frequency. So let's select this. As you can see, guys, there is very few fluctuations which are rapid, guys. So you don't have to worry about this kind of fluctuation. If you have a constant low bond to the top or things like that, which is there constantly, so you would know at which frequency or around which frequency, guys, you will have the interference in your radio control. So as of now in my area, guys, you can see there is not much interference, so it looks nice. So let's go back. Now let's go on to the next menu using the page forward button. So here you can see this is your SD card content files that you have saved here onto your radio control. You can navigate it using the scroll button and go inside each folder. So the values that you see here is basically the folders which are there onto your SD card which is installed in this radio control. I will not go through in detail what those means. I will put a separate video, guys, on how to configure these and what those folder means in my future videos, guys, so ensure that you stay tuned. So let's go forward by page forward button. So here is your system settings or settings of this radio control. These are not the settings that you would do for the binding or communicating with the radio receiver or the drone. This is basically your local system setup. So here you can see you have date, time. These are the first important thing, guys, that you need to set up. As you can see onto the side, you have the date and the time. So ensure that, guys, whenever you use this radio control, you set this up first. So to set this up, it is super simple. Just select the line, click on the scroll button, and then it will go across the year, month and date, and then you can click again to change the value. And whenever you are satisfied with the value, just click again and it will stay at that place. So if you want to come out, you need to click on return, so it will go back to the default function, and then you can scroll across the menu. So here there are much more functions. You can see you have modes, and then you have volume, beep volume, length, pitch of the beep, wave volume, If you want to have a background music that you want to play during the operation of this radio control, that's the master volume control, guys, for the background music that you want to play. So that is that. And then you have variometer, volume, pitch 0, max, repeat 0, haptic feedback, no key. Haptic feedback is basically the vibration. So if you want to have the vibration whenever you push any button, so for now it is no key. If you want to select all, so every time you press a button you will get a haptic feedback or vibration. So that is if you want to send. Then the length of the vibration, strength of the vibration, low battery voltage warning, at what voltage you want, you will have the low voltage warning. And then you have inactivity, then you have sound off, check RSSI switch on shutdown. So this will basically check if you are actually flying and you have a radio signal at the time of flying, things like that, just to give you warning before you shut down your radio control, things like that. And then you have backlight. So backlight, whenever you want to press the button and check with the menu button only or with the radio controls as well, so you can change and select between the options whenever your backlight of the screen turns on. Duration for which your backlight stays on whenever there is no operation, so which is 30 seconds by default. When your screen is on, you can set the total brightness of the screen. So for mine it is at full brightness whenever my screen is on, and when it is off, or basically when you have an inactive operation, so you can choose to dim the light so as to conserve the battery. That is what you can do. Or you can choose it to scroll all the way down to turn your screen off completely whenever you are not operating this radio control. So that is what you can do. Basically, like everything, guys, as I have told you, either you're scrolling and then when you want to change the value, all you have to do is be on that function, click once to select the function, as you can see, and then you can, using the scroll, change the value to your liking, and then again press OK to set the value. So that is how the menu function works. Now let's scroll all to the bottom. You can have alarms, you can have an inbuilt GPS which you can install internally or using the external UART that you have. Adjust the real-time clock, coordinate format for the GPS, country code depending upon the location, for Americas and Europe. So the band frequency changes as well depending upon the type of receiver. If you want to have it in 2.4 gigahertz, you have 2.4 gigahertz in US and 2.5 gigahertz in Europe. So your radio control is basically configured to have both frequencies, but then you have to select it here depending upon the country code. Your radio receiver will operate at that frequency. And then you have metric function, your voice language, play delay. So this play delay is basically when you have three-way switch, guys, if your delay is too small, it will announce the value of the switch, guys. If you have three-way and you slide all to the way from 3 to first position, your second position gets skipped because it has to be there at that position for at least 150 milliseconds for system to recognize that position and then announce that value. This you want to keep it a little higher, guys, so that whenever you skip one switch or the position of the switch, you won't have an announcement for that second position or center position if you want to switch it all the way from first position to the third position. USB mode, so whenever you connect the USB from the top, guys, it will ask you whether you want to access this SD card, you want to use it in the simulator, or you want to flash the firmware or something. So it will always ask. You can always set the default values if you don't want to flash the firmware or something. Default channel order, so this is AETR. This is basically the order of your gimbal is controlled. If you want to change this order, guys, you can change it. And then, guys, you have mode 2 from left to right, so left side throttle, right side things. So those things between mode 1 and mode 2, you can choose which kind of mode your radio control can operate. So this can be changed right from here. This is what you have in the settings menu, guys. Now let us go on to the next menu. So to go to next menu, page forward. So here you have global function, guys. I will go in detail in the global function in my future videos, guys, so I'm going to skip this one. Next thing is your trainer and slave. So this is the function, guys, where you can have two radio control connected to each other, one for the trainer and one for the trainee. So your trainee can fly the drone and then you can take over the control from your radio control for any functions when you see if it is crashing or something. It's more like whenever you go for learning to drive, you have a trainer onto the side, right, which has the brakes and the controls as well, so it lets you practice, but at the same time it prevents you from any crashes or damage. So that is what it is used for. And the next one is your hardware. So here there are few things that I would like you to do whenever you first buy or start using this radio control, is to first calibrate the values. This is basically the calibration of the switches, knobs or sliders along with the gimbal that you have here on the radio control. So let's quickly see how does that work. So first thing you need to do is select, and then it goes inside. So it says that to start with the calibration, press enter. So press enter, and then it asks you to put all the knobs here at the center or at its default position so that it knows where the center is. So ensure that, guys, whenever you put all those variometer, knobs, sliders right in the center, as you can see on the screen as well, it does not need to be center on the screen, but it needs to have the center position physically on your radio controls. This is super important, guys, because it will find out where is the center position and it will calibrate the values inside to know at this position the knob is called centered. So it is super important, guys. It should not be center on the screen, it should be center physically onto your radio control. So now I have centered already all my knobs. I will press OK. Then it will ask you to move it around to its full length in each direction so that it knows what are the minimum and maximum values. So ensure that, guys, you move each of these knobs onto the screen which is visible so that your radio control knows what is the maximum and minimum values of each control that you have on this radio. So let's do that quickly. Let's start with gimbal. Bottom, top, left and right, left, right, bottom, top. Then you have scroll here, scroll here, and then you have the knobs, left, right, all to the way to the right, all to the way to the left, and then the second knob. So this is what you need to do. Once you have done that, guys, then you click OK again. Now your system knows what are the minimum and maximum values of each of the radio control, and also it knows what is the center values. So that is how you calibrate your radio control switches and knobs. So now scroll down. So here you don't have to change anything. It just says that what kind of switches that you have, two position, three position switches, and the sliders. So that is what you have. And then it has a battery voltage, battery calibration, so you can check from your multimeter what is your current value of the battery and then put it here as manual values, so that if your battery value is showing wrong onto the screen, it will calibrate your battery value. So this is also something really nice. Then you have maximum baud rate, guys. This you can switch between this value or the maximum baud rate value just by clicking. This is for your external RF module. This is the maximum baud rate at which your radio control communicates it from the external radio control module that you connected to your radio receiver. So as you know, guys, this is higher than the default baud rate, guys, but your radio control like TBS Crossfire, ELRS will be able to support this maximum baud rate. But if for some reason it does not work, or if it gives you the sensor warnings or something, you can always reduce this value to 1150-200, which will resolve the problem, sensor lost, things like that. So reducing the baud rate values will give you the correct value, but also will reduce the speed of communication. So, and then you have serial port 1 and 2, which is there at the bottom of the radio control to turn on if you have any external modules connected. And then you have your analog switches to debug the analog switches and keys. So this will give you the values which you would have calibrated here in the first menu before. So if you want to see the analog values, so here you can see it gives you the values. So whenever you move the value, it will give you the value here on the screen. So this is what it was calibrated, guys. So whenever it is center, guys, so ensure that the value is almost 0 or -100 or +100 depending upon the place where it is or depending upon the operations that you do. And also, guys, that is what the trim does. It modifies the maximum value and minimum value of that knob or the slider. So that is how it works. As you know, guys, this is an OpenTX operating system as of now on my radio control. It does not have a touch menu function supported as of now, but you can see here at the bottom it says touch panel, but when you touch you get the coordinates at the place where you are touching. So you can see your screen is touch capable. It is just that this operating system do not have the driver as of now to be able to use this. So guys, in my future videos I am going to tell you how to grade this operating system to HTX, which has a native touch screen support. So now let's go back. Let's go on to the next menu using the page forward, which is your system information, which will give you the firmware, operating system, when it was installed, and what kind of functions that it supports as of now. So the firmware here installed is OpenTX. The version is 2.3.11. Date and time of installation, and then you have an optional description option here which gives you the receiver as of now, which is supported by this radio control. So that is what you have in the system menu, guys. Now let's go back and then let's go to the model menu. Just like system menu, just click and hold the model menu so as to go into the model menu. So here you can see you can set up the model name, image, so whatever image that was displaying here on to the top on the default screen, that you can change it from here for this model. Then you can have the timer, name, persistent. You can see here there is one important thing that I was talking about is the default values of your switches and throttle. So this is where it is used for to change the value of the default position of each switches. So put the switch in the default position as and when you like, and then long hold this scroll button so that the value gets updated automatically. So that is how you set the default position of the switch. By default, as of now, you can see all the switch default position is whenever it is on the back side and throttle is at the most bottom value. So that is what the default switch positions are. So here on the bottom side you can see, guys, there is an option to use the internal RF or an external RF. So as of now it is on external RF, which is crossfire, but if you want to use the internal RF you need to turn this on, and you can see, guys, it is on multi-protocol radio control, guys. It's says that it is FR Sky. Then depending upon the protocol that you want to use, you can change the value to Hoopsan, FR Sky, D16, HI Sky, Standard, V2, X2, things like that. So if you want to change the value to HI Sky like this, you can do that, and then you can start using the bind and the range to start configuring your receiver, guys. So that is how you use the internal RF. But if you do not want to use the internal RF, guys, all you need to do is go to multi and then select the mode to off and then press OK. So here you can see internal RF module is turned off. Then you can use the external RF module. So here it was on crossfire, so I'll put on crossfire, and then you can configure the crossfire channel and things like that. So this is how you configure your model onto your radio control. So now next menu, let's go, is for helicopter setup. If you have a helicopter, you can set these values depending upon the helicopter control, and then you have the flight modes that you want to set this up. Next thing that you have is your input, so you can configure the input channels or the channel that you receive as a sensor value or anything that you have as a switches. So those are the things that you assign as an input. Then you have a mixer to modify the values and change the value depending upon the scenario. And then you have the output. This is what it goes on to the firmware, the values which is received by your drone, and then your drone operates depending upon the values that is present here on this output channel, guys. So whenever you move the throttle, the minimum and maximum value, whatever you have set here, will be visible there on your drone. Then you can operate and control the drone depending upon the values of different channels that you have here in your radio control. As of now, you can see, guys, it can support up to 32 channel. So you can either send the sensor values, or you can send the RSSI value or receive the RSSI value on one of these channels and configure and use or modify based on the mixer. So that is what it is used for, guys, as an output. Now let's go back. So here are the curves. These are more advanced function, guys. I will cover in my future videos. Curves basically modifies the value depending upon the position. So if you want to have a slower start and then higher throttle as in when you go on a higher height, that you can do and modify using the curves. As of now, you can see it is a straight line, but then if you want to have a curved value to have a different value of different point of time at different position, that you can do it from curves. So that is what it is used for. Let's go to the next. Global variables, these are also advanced function, guys, that you want to use. These are logical switches, guys. So you want to mix the values and dependent values and combine what happens when two things are on or three things are on, that kind of stuff, that you can do it from logical switches. And then you have special functions for the special operations that you want to perform. Then you have the custom Lua script. So these are the automation or the programming that you would have done. So whatever happens, so these Lua scripts are the loops of the program that keep running in the background, guys. So I would not suggest to use lot many Lua scripts, but this Lua scripts does some automations. It's more like scripts, so it does some automation for you depending upon the situations or boundary conditions that it fulfills. So I will go on the Lua details programming in my future videos, guys. So ensure that you stay tuned for the advanced functions if you want to learn for this radio control. And the last one is the telemetry. This is also an important menu, guys, that you want to know. So important thing here is this will read all the values of the sensors connected onto your drone whenever your drone is bound or is connected to your radio receiver and it supports telemetry. You will have all those values sent out to your radio receiver so that you can monitor more like strength of the signal of the radio control, your GPS locations and things like that. Those information can be sent back to your radio control and can be displayed onto your home screen, but then you need to detect all those sensors which are connected onto your radio control just by this menu option. It says discover new sensors. It will work only when your radio control is connected to the drone receiver. So all you need to do is click on this discover new sensors, and then you will have the list of the sensors which are connected onto your drone and its corresponding values. So that is how you discover all the telemetry data that is coming out of your drone. So this is it, guys. This concludes this video. I hope you have a better understanding on how to get started with this RadioMaster TX16S and you have fair ideas for the basic functions which this has to offer. I hope you guys like this video. If you guys like this video, please do not forget to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comment, please leave them in the comment section below. I will try and answer as soon as possible. If you are new to my channel and not yet subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and click that bell notification icon so that you get the notifications for all my new videos. Thank you, guys. Thanks for watching and clear skies.